right, so let's take a look at remote viewing the Varna Man, unlocking the secrets and hidden stories of the Varna Man, the wealthiest grave of the 5th millennium BC. The Varna Man was found in a particular grave of the Varna Necropolis, and the Varna Necropolis was discovered in 1972 near Varna, Bulgaria, during industrial construction. It dates back to approximately 4600 to 4200 BCE during the Copper Age. This is a prehistoric site. It contains 312 graves showcasing evidence of social stratification, trade, and extreme craftsmanship. The necropolis is famous for the discovery of the oldest processed gold in the world, and it's still one of the most significant archaeological finds of prehistoric Europe. About 23 miles away, there is a prehistoric city. The city dates from 5500 to 4200 BCE, and they were engaged in salt production, and this probably fueled regional trade and wealth, and perhaps funded some of the Varna Necropolis's gold artifacts. Both sites thrive simultaneously, so it's possible that residents of this prehistoric city were buried in the Varna Necropolis. There could be a link between these two sites. The Varna man was buried in grave 43. That's, of course, the number that the archaeologists gave that particular grave as it was being excavated. He was buried in a supine position with arms extended. Gold items were symbolically placed around his head, chest, and hands, as they were in some of the other grave sites in the necropolis. Gold items in grave 43 include a scepter, beads, ornaments, a penis sheath, as well as weapons, pottery, and items from obsidian and shell. Grave 43 contained over 3 pounds of gold and 850 artifacts. This is the largest collection of gold from the 5th millennium BCE ever discovered. And his lavish burial suggests he was a leader, a shaman, or some type of an elite figure. One of the interesting things about the artifacts in the Varna necropolis is they appear to show knowledge of sacred geometry, navigation, and early scientific thought. The gold artifacts have encoded within them the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence, and there are tools that may have been used as measuring instruments for navigation, agriculture, and construction. All of this suggests shared ideas with later monuments such as the Great Pyramid and Stonehenge, both which followed the Varna necropolis. And of course, this challenges outdated views of Stone Age people. Of course, there's a lot of unanswered questions about the Varna necropolis and the civilization that created it. One of the things that scientists aren't sure about is how the skills were developed to produce so much gold. They're unsure of the specifics of trade networks with other societies, and they're unsure of what caused the Varna culture's decline. One theory is that Indo-European tribes moved into the area, forcing the Varna civilization out, or perhaps wiping them out. Interestingly, the Varna man was aged 45 to 50. He stood 5 foot 7 inches tall with a larger than average cranium, and this makes him taller and older than most of the other individuals that were buried in the Varna necropolis. All right, so this was our tasking statement for the project 7829-0614, the man in grave 43 of the Varna necropolis, Varna, Bulgaria, optimal time in the past. The remote viewer will move to the optimal time and location to describe and sketch the man in grave 43, commonly known as the Varna man of the Varna necropolis in Varna, Bulgaria. The viewers will focus on a time when this man was physically alive and at the peak point of accomplishment in his life, as judged by the Varna man and the civilization he was a part of, if applicable only. So as we begin to get into our viewers' data, I wanted to make a note that I did use ChatGPT to help me analyze the viewer's data. I wanted to see if this could help me make the whole process more efficient and if it could save any time during the process of analyzing the data, which I have found to be the most time-intensive process of doing one of our projects. So what I did is I read every word of the viewer's sessions into ChatGPT, and then I fed it the PDFs as well so that it could take a look at the images and possibly read the words as well from the PDFs. And then ChatGPT created a bunch of interesting summary and analysis of the sessions. I did the played around with giving ChatGPT the tasking and also having it analyze the sessions without the tasking. And I'll include some of that documentation in the project files that will be available to the public. So we're now going to look at the viewers' sessions. Each of these slides is just going to be a summary of the main data from each of the sessions the viewers did. We'll get into Daz's first session. In his first session, there was a dynamic aerial event that was highlighted, a fast shard-like object. It was angular, moving right to left with a rumbling, crackling, and bubbling sound, energetic displacement. Debris, heat, smoke, and steam were created by the object's motion. There were observers on the ground, people, possibly primitive, watching and pointing upward. The landscape was described as green and warm and in a rural environment. And this whole event, this aerial event, created quite a spectacle. There was a radiating rainbow of light on the horizon, suggesting a large scale phenomenon and possibly an impact. For Daz's second session, he describes small communal groups, human and non-human life integrated with nature, showing shamanistic or spiritual traits. It was a natural environment again, green, layered, and harmonious with primitive living patterns. There was artistic expression with this group, an emphasis on petroglyphs and storytelling. And there also appeared to be a group of non-human beings. They were ghost-like energy forms, and they appeared to be linked to the human group. There were a blend of realms, according to ChatGPT here, physical and ethereal life merging mythical and spiritual elements. And in the second session, the life also again appeared to be witnessing an event, life forms observing a significant past occurrence. In Daz's third session, I asked him to explore the timeline of this group, and he said that these are lives on the move, crossing hostile terrain for survival and evasion. Highlights on the timeline included a high energy conflict in the past, a narrow escape and evasion, a final settlement and peace. And overall, this seemed to indicate a clash of cultures, an aggressive group versus a more spiritual group. And there were themes in the session of resilience, hiddenness, and survival. And of course, what this makes me think of is the one theory in regards to what happened to this Varna civilization, being that there was another Indo-European tribe that moved in and forced this group out. And certainly Daz's data here seems to support that kind of theory. And getting into Daz's fourth and final session, I had asked him to take a deeper look at the male leader that was described in his previous session. And he describes a central male figure that is a wise leader. He's deeply connected to rituals, traditions, and the well-being of his people. As he connects with this individual's mind, he has this transcendent imagery of light and symbolism, reflecting enlightenment and selflessness. And there is a ritualistic environment with crystalline forms and light, symbolizing purity, spirituality, and a connection to a higher source. And this individual is even holding a staff-like object, just as was found in the Varna man's grave. So it does appear that Daz is connecting with the Varna man directly in this session, and he does appear to have been a spiritual leader, a wise individual, and an individual who's in deep service to his community. Getting into Demi's first session, she describes man-made structures that are dynamic, vibrating, floating, domed saucer shapes, or at times triangular. There's energetic phenomena, magnetic, gravitational, and scalar fields with mist and vapor. The terrain is described as steep, cracked, dusty, and there is life, land, and structures interacting. Humanoid forms are at the target, observing and interacting silently or with curiosity. Key events in the session are lights or objects emerging, swarming, or being swallowed by an aperture. Historical themes are also in the session, with connections to ancient civilizations, lost artifacts, and symbolic events. Demi's second session describes a harsh terrain, rugged, extreme weather above and below ground. There were decrepit life forms stranded underground and relying on external power. There was advanced technology, including these pillory tools above the surface, which were used for observation, survival, and communication. And the emotional tone of the session was one of hopelessness and awaiting rescue or external signals. And you can see in the images there's one image that describes one of these humanoid shapes, one of them perhaps wearing some type of eye protection. And there is a below ground structures where the humanoid forms uh, were residing, and they were getting information from these pillars or some type of objects above ground, which were relaying information to the humanoids which were below ground, and watching some of this information on displays. Getting into Susan's sessions now. In Susan's first session, she describes dynamic energy, lifting, expanding, and vibratory motion. There are man-made structures, metallic, smooth, and ceramic-like, with curved or arched forms. There are contained spaces, cylindrical or looped, with defined boundaries. There's stimuli with bright radiance, tones, chemical tastes, and smells, and small objects that are needle-like, possibly organic or metallic. And there's a motion of circular, repetitive, with rotation and sound reverberations. And there's an emotional tone of curiosity with a mild chest or heart anxiety. And when I was reading through Susan's first session, she describes an object, AOL, as a metallic pipe type thing that she could possibly hold in her hand. She describes a gold disc, which is shiny and lightweight. And she describes a gong or bell sound. She says, sound of a metallic object being hit and reverberating outwards. AOL gong bell. So some of that data sounds like artifacts that were actually discovered in the necropolis. And that banging sound, I couldn't help but thinking that while it could be a gong, it could also be someone beating a piece of gold into shape, which was certainly done in the creation of all of these gold artifacts. So she seems to be directly describing some of the artifacts and possibly the creation of some of the artifacts. Of course, you also have to note that there is this depiction of an object that appears to be moving from right to left. So is she also picking up on some of the data that was in Daz's first session of an airborne object that was moving? In Susan's second session, she describes circular metallic artifacts resembling gongs, producing rhythmic, crescendoing sounds for ceremonies. So maybe it was an actual gong. There are energetic waves and vibrations that radiate outwards, tied to sound and sensory experiences rather. There is a central figure, an older male spiritual leader embodying warmth, humility, and humor linked to sound rituals. Cultural focus is as sound as a ritual carrier with chanting, clicking, and mantra-like elements. Significant artifacts are intricately crafted for ceremonial or symbolic use. So Susan appears to be picking up on the Varna man here and more information about the artifacts that were actually used in a ritual sense. In Susan's third session, she describes a methodical male life form engaged in alchemical or investigative practices. There's a small, childlike, non-human being evoking humor and warmth in a bright setting. Lightweight, hollow artifacts are used for experimentation. Circular, orbit-like motions suggest energetic or process-related activity, and a brightly lit interior contrasts with a dark external environment, highlighting isolation and focus. And Susan's fourth and final session focused on an eccentric male life form focused on scientific or alchemical work in a dark historical setting. Artifacts like glassware, books, and manuscripts reflect experimental pursuits. Environment features old European architecture, wooden structures, and dim lighting. Themes of knowledge, inquiry, and potential conflict, such as military intervention or shutdown. And of course, that last item there, the military intervention or shutdown, makes me again think of Daz's session and the conventional theory that what might have happened to this people was the uh, invasion and forcing out by a more aggressive Indo-European tribe. And Susan has an interesting image there of a humanoid shape. She might have been picking up on some of the feedback of the images of the Varna man that were shown previously, or of course the Varna man himself. Now getting into Coral's session data. In session one, Coral describes a dramatic scene involving biologicals leaving a space, potentially using a man-made toroidal vehicle or structure. The movement feels highly energetic and urgent, tied to an event that might have torn the fabric of space and time. There's a strong association with luminous colors, energetic overlays, and a sense of a timeline or cycle. The biologicals are depicted as small with large hair, worried, and possibly involved in a significant transition or escape. In Coral's second session, she describes small biologicals navigating a transformative timeline. They are moving toward isolated mountain structures with harmonious interiors. There are advancing energy systems involving frequencies and mycelium networks, and a diminishing population and increasing imbalance in the scientific world. There are symbolic themes of ascension, community, and existential challenges. In her third session, Coral describes a powerful event disrupting space-time with violent atmospheric phenomena and advanced propulsion systems enabling dimensional travel or mass exodus. Biologicals experience shock and emotional intensity amid a civilization's dramatic displacement. Symbolic motifs suggest ascension, cosmic connection, and environmental transformation. And in that session, this could also be speaking about what happened to the Varna civilization. Very similar themes to what we saw in Daz and Susan sessions, and even perhaps Demi's as well, which seemed to be describing a civilization that was uh, basically at the brink of collapse, or perhaps at the end of a run of a civilization transitioning to a new stage. Getting into Dennis's sessions, we have a serene natural setting with advanced structures and energy manipulation. A technologically advanced craft or civilization integrates seamlessly with its surroundings. The witness interacts with and disrupts the event, emphasizing advanced psychic or emotional connections. Themes of awe, curiosity, and wonder dominate. And we're seeing again a person on the ground witnessing an event in the sky, just as we saw clearly in Daz's session. In Dennis's second session, Dennis describes a focused witness observing an extraordinary event with energy drones and striking visuals. An exchange of energy or information is implied, with strong cognitive and emotional effects, raising questions about the event's purpose. In session three, we have a dynamic environment blending natural and energetic elements, featuring energy barriers and structures. There's a humanoid witness who undergoes a profound encounter marked by emotional and spiritual resonance involving an exchange of energy with another life form. Significant events include objects passing through barriers, energy fields, and a timeline of transitions affecting the witness physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We'll now get into Anita's data. In her first session, she describes a structured environment merging natural and artificial elements with energy flows and motion. Tall, purposeful life forms engage in ritualistic activities, utilizing advanced structures with energetic and magnetic components aligned to environmental or cosmic forces. That reminds me of some of the data from Susan's session where she describes artifacts being used in ritual-like settings. In Anita's second session, she describes a uniformed male navigating an unfamiliar, otherworldly setting with ancient and futuristic themes, including underwater pyramids, desert cities, and a star ring device. Overshadowed by non-physical entities, he seeks purpose and ancestry, reflecting themes of lineage, control, and spiritual exploration. And there's definitely some overlap with the themes here and some of the other viewer sessions. The overshadowing by non-physical entities reminds me of the data in Daz's session describing both a physical and non-physical group of beings. And I believe Naeem may have had some similar data to that as well, in addition to some of the other viewers. Speaking of Naeem, his first session highlights humanoid figures, including a Bigfoot-like creature with primal sounds and rugged features in a dynamic, harsh environment of burnt vegetation, steaming areas, and sharp textures. A circular, possibly technological object emits energy, steam, and light, interacting with its surroundings. The data suggest a vibrant setting where natural and artificial influences blend. Session two, which is a continuation of session one, Naeem describes a dense forested environment with warm climates and an unusual apparition. A plasma-like column of light streams with cold physical properties. A disc-like object, half there, half not, transitions between states. Other life includes a strong, pre-human hominid capable of running on all fours or standing upright, and a black circular opening on the surface that hints at something underground. And for Naeem's third session, I asked him to go into that dark circular opening, and he described a cavernous, enclosed inner realm with light pouring in and a circular standing stone formation of astrological significance, aligned for timekeeping but now in ruin. Humanoids were observed performing arduous labor, moving cube-like objects, resembling a slave workforce under strict orders. The environment featured evolving life forms and buried, hollowed out land in tones of brown, black, and gray. And now what we'll do is this share a few correlations between viewers' data that ChatGPT picked up once it had all of the viewers' data. I wouldn't say that this is an exclusive list of all of the data that agrees between different viewers' sessions, but at least two different viewers had some of the themes here that ChatGPT is pointing out. It points out humanoids with variations in appearance. There are life forms with a spiritual, shamanistic, or leadership role. There are circular or saucer-like shapes. There are underground and hidden spaces. There are tower-like or monolithic structures. There are bright, energetic events. There are dimensional or time-related shifts. And there are emotional undertones of sadness, hope, and reflection, and calm, harmonious behavior. Additionally, there is technological or advanced features such as energy manipulation or generation and observation and interaction with advanced entities as well. ChatGPT points out harsh, arid landscapes between some of the viewers' data. Of course, some of the other viewers also reported dense vegetation and moist environments. Perhaps this is describing two different time periods, or perhaps two different locales. And there were contrasting illuminated interior spaces with darker exterior spaces. And that is our presentation. So let's go ahead and get some of the viewers' thoughts. I was happy with your sessions. Uh, what do you what would you like to share? Anyone have anything they want to share or comment upon? Yeah, anyone just unmute and let her rip.
Hey, can I start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So I think it was really interesting because yes, of course, it's the biggest amount of gold ever found in a burial place for that time. But it seems that those people were well evaluate as a bigger asset the salt. So they use, as you said, of course, gold just for different things to furnish the the area, themselves or whatever. This is the first point that I want to make. So they valued mostly salt against gold. This is the first thing. It's really weird that we have at least three or four sessions, I think already that we have four of us, sorry, that we have like above man-made watching and being there and flying and whatever doing, I don't know. And I want to point out something that is gonna maybe is gonna have Naim being happy about his work because I found from at least 20, no, maximum 20 kilometers from this side, still there. It's a place called the Stone Forest, which is filled with stone columns, which are coming up to the tallest, I think, is 9 or 10 meters. And there are like 1,300 of them, so less than 20 kilometers from the site of the burial. And it seems that it also have like stone circle, which they probably use because it's possible to be the Mesolithic people from that from Europe, from the Grave 43, from all the area, because they lived between 9,000 BCE to 5,000 and something BCE. And so, of course, this place with pillar construction was already there. Well, was already there almost 35 millions ago. That's something else. So probably they use this thing for rituals because they also found some stone put in circle in that place. Can I share some of my images regarding that?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is interesting.
Okay. So let me go here. So this is the area found like with less 20 kilometers from the burial site. And this is considered to be a natural not artificial made, because, well, it's a lot of explanation. I'm not going to put it right now. It's about the thing that it was a bottom of a lake for that period of time, and it was drying, and so on and so forth. So it seems that they use this area for the rituals and for a lot of other things, because they found some interesting artifacts, because they used the stone there and put it in like stone, like like name has stone age something around. So this is my only thing that I want to add to this, and the fact that my strange man with strange eyes, with strange type of glasses, could be then the skeleton, which I thought it was an exoskeleton, which felt metallic. It could be the gold, which covered the body, of course. And but the eyes were strange anyhow. So that's my add to this. I will stop sharing now, if it's possible.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Definitely some correlation with Naeem's data, perhaps others as well. Uh, you're thanks for
And a
sharing.
lot of, yes, and also a lot of places in an area, also natural cavernous area, a lot in the same place, around the same place. The place is called, let me see, it's called Pobitica Mani, um, and it seems that Mesolithic population lived there.
And
So
are you saying
that's
there's
my,
some underground caverns?
yeah, there are a lot of underground caverns.
Okay.
I will still share it. Can I still share an
Yeah,
image?
yeah, absolutely.
I will show you right away. Just a moment, just a moment. And all with the Varna and so other. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
it's absolutely okay. Thank you for this though. Okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about or share?
Uh, I don't know. I felt that the people that I've seen was communicating through each other through telepathic means. And I thought they were expecting from an event, um, from a blast event that happened, which I think it's correlated with Daz and also Susan, I think. Um, a blast event that destroyed the area, so they're waiting for a help there, down there in the caverns or whatever. So that was my only point. So I will stop here already too much. Sorry.
Oh, can I say something? So I started off with a blast event and it dominated almost all of my sessions. I drew it, I painted it, just like on that there. But I got the feeling from that maybe they came from somewhere else. And Daz has got like an actual craft. So, because I had the feeling that some of them stayed behind and some of them came, and they actually could have settled there, is my feeling. Because I also had the feeling of them like creating children genetically, that they'd actually remade a tribe or remade the people in some way. Because I had a nursery with babies, and it reminded me of those things of the Cabbage Patch Children, yeah, where they actually made the babies. So actually, I've got drawings of a man, maybe our man, with like kids all around him. So that could have been one of his tasks as well. But it felt to me like he was very advanced, and moved from somewhere to somewhere. So they could have arrived there. Yeah. But I drew those rocks as well, like rocky things with inside. And sometimes I say underwater, sometimes I say underground, sometimes, but inside, definitely. It was in the PowerPoint, the Adobe like
Hmm.
things. So that's all.
Yeah, you have a lot of that. Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, so many of you reported this flying object and things associated with that, and again, it wasn't expected, but how does that correlate with the tasking? Or is this, like you said, is this precede the development of the civilization? Are these the seeds somehow related to the seeds of this civilization and or their knowledge? Certainly a possibility.
Darby, I have a thought on that. I mean, the fact that we all correlated, I think, is significant for sure. Susan, awesome job getting like the literal, like pretty much tomb data on that. I love the division of effort there, and Susan's the one I think that kept us grounded in verifiable reality, which was awesome. But I was wondering too, like we're debriefing this today as all these drones are in the sky. Is there any chance that we're picking up on some of that stuff? Because I wrote the word drones and some of the stuff I sketched, I was like, man, this is relevant to exactly what's happening right now. And the fact that we're doing this debrief today. So I wonder if there's some bleed over. But the fact that everybody has it, this is an enigma for me on this one, in terms of how to interpret that data, in terms of are we on target and was there a UAP event? I mean, we all did have not all of us, but a lot of us had underground data. You know, the underground data I had was advanced tech to enter it and another breakaway civilization that was really didn't care too much about human civilization, but sometimes interacted with them when it was necessary and certain people were permitted to have access. So maybe that is what we were seeing is this other civilization that was there interacting, just unexpected, given the target, given the tasking. But I think the fact that there's correlation is significant in some way, for sure.
Yeah, that did
Uh,
occur to me too, Dennis. The idea that maybe we're getting some of the current day drone data that's happening right now bleeding through.
Yeah.
Be
But how
possible.
about salt and gold? I mean, that's
Yeah.
alchemical.
Hmm.
No, I also my first page, it's like my first paper page. I attempted to do a paper session before I did the ERV. I immediately got the torso of a male, and then I was looking down on this youngish male, about 15, 20, maybe, tan skin, walking around with something around his neck swinging, but this symbolizing, these round things symbolizing lineage, genetics. And I got its subterranean geological and this male being a great important person, a king, maybe a leader. And then I suddenly got interrupted by the word asteroid looking up and Noah's flood. And so I don't know, it's definitely like there is something aerial going on. And then suddenly everything just got cut off. I got nothing, nothing, nothing. And I didn't know what was happening, if this was part of the target, because I simply, it's like everything stopped. And this had me think of that time after the Varna Man, apparently the time everything just stopped for a few thousand years. So something happened there, and then I also started, I got my ERV started off by getting this dark crevice, entering a crevice into something vertical, almost like a mountain. So like Demi also, I agree on the caverns, and I also got the stone pillars and sound rituals. So there's a lot of correlation there. But I read up, I actually should look for those links again. How afterwards these Varna civilizations fit into how they link to the genealogy of the pyramids, the pharaohs, how it links to that. And I definitely got a baby with the underwater pyramids. So there's something about, I'm not sure if it's dominating how the generations following, there's something there, maybe a kind of control between the tribes. Um, and this weird city I also got moving from one place to another. Um, it was like almost like a futuristic for the time. Necropolis kind of, but it was white rounds. Um, it felt very spiritual. There's definitely the sense of spiritual and ritual. And at the end of my session, I got this person observing this light coming from the ground, um, transcending. I got this rainbow colors. Normally in my sessions that indicate transition into the next life. So that was all I just wanted to share. But the stone pyramids was close to the end of the session. Triangles in the shape of the pyramids. There was a lot of scientific and energetic stuff going on with the spiritualism and the genealogy that they seem to have controlled in some way.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just want to add something. Tutankhamun, when he was digged up, it was having the same kind of artifacts like this
Yes.
person. So it can be correlated also that.
Yeah, and there's definitely a thread that says those pharaohs were aliens as well. They weren't completely human.
Just want a quick comment. Something strange that's happened since I've done this session with my remote viewing. I'm going to quick share one sketch that I did. This one here. Why isn't it sharing? There we go. So this sketch here of this one life looking up at another life, and this was a surreal moment. It was very sad. It was like he saw this woman in a craft above him. She was flying by, and it was like a goodbye, like something. She was gone. She was going to disappear. She was going to die. It was just a really sad thing. Um, I've worked three separate targets, two or three separate targets since then. And when I go back and analyze my data, that same theme is coming up. And I don't know if this is related to this target or not. Maybe this is just a question that we don't need to put into the debrief, but as a viewer, but that theme seems to keep recurring. And it's not the same exact sketch, but when I go back and analyze it, it'll be like two energies passing by and this emotional piece to it. So the basic theme of it is there. And then as I go through and start expanding on it, it's like, and I'll say, oh, there's that thing again. And then I stop what I'm doing and I take myself a break. It just keeps showing up in my session. I just don't know why, but this is where it started for me with that. I don't know if that's significant or not.
How many other sessions did you say it showed up in since then?
I think three more. I have to go back and look. And I say that because it happened this morning. I did a session this morning, and when I was done, I went back and I looked. I was like, "Oh, there's that thing again. I thought this was part of this session, and there it is again. The two life forms passing over each other." And so maybe it's just something in my head, but I'm not aware of it when I'm sketching it out. And then when I go back and look at it, I remember like, "Oh, that's from other sessions." So
Yeah.
it's just a strange thing that started here.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I provided the sites to the thing from which I described earlier in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else have any comments or anything they'd like to share?
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen the data. I like to be surprised. So the correlations are very interesting, especially the aerial event. And anyone that looks into the history of man, you can see that there are indications of some kinds of big aerial event that affected humans across the planet at different times, including giving them in some way technology, to do artifacts and building and all that kind of stuff, which makes sense with the amazing gold as well, because that gold was finely wrought into those items. So I find that correlation interesting. I don't think mine were, or I didn't have the feeling in what I was reporting as it being like a craft, it felt almost like it was like a meteor type event or something, a natural cataclysmic type event. But I don't know, because I did have that weird sprite type non-human energy that was interacting with the life forms as well. So yeah, maybe I just didn't look into it enough. So yeah, I find this sky event stuff very intriguing. But as I said, I've seen that in recorded books that I read, in almost every race across the planet that some of those interactions happen. So it doesn't surprise me that we picked up on that. The shaman stuff was very interesting as well. I thought that was a very strong connection. The spirituality of the leader, which makes sense, with all the gold adornments that he had in his whatever the object he had in his hand was used for as well. The migration stuff I found interesting as well. I had that quite strongly that they were moving from one place to another. And in my days, I had very strong feelings from the start. It was almost like, way past in like before biblical type times. I even wrote like Cro-Magnon man type feeling. They were very, very primitive people. One piece that was really interesting, I think Naeem got it as well. He had Bigfoot data, and I also had Bigfoot data as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't remember ever having an RV session having Bigfoot in it.
There's our
So
Sasquatch stats from yesterday.
we were talking about it yesterday, weren't we?
We
Yeah,
we said that's got to come up in 2025, and here it is, Sasquatch. Naeem had it.
yeah. So, and that's interesting as well because although I don't know if I believe it, but all the modern stories that are coming out about Sasquatch is that they are some kind of weird multi-dimensional creature that can open up portals and communicate and all this kind of weird stuff connected to UAPs. I don't know how true any of that is, but yeah, it's interesting that we got light events with possible craft, and two of us are also reporting a Bigfoot type creature as well. So yeah, so great work, great correlations, and a great division of labor with everyone's work on this. I think we all nailed this target with intricate detail.
Awesome. Thank you. Just to be clear, Dad, so you thought that the flying object that you perceived in your first session, I think it was also in your second, was not man-made. It was more of a natural thing.
I'm just having a look at it now because I haven't looked at it since. I mean, I do say things like metallic colors, rotating, moving. I say it because I've never seen anything that looks so, and you can see it in my weird sketches of it being like crystal shaped. I've never seen anything look so organic ever as a flying craft. What it reminded me of is it reminded me of the Tunguska event. Something coming down in and making that great big crater type thing. Um, but it also reminded me when I was drawing it of I can't work out how to say it, but there's that rock thing that guy
Starts with an O, that weird long name.
Onimusha, whatever it is,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
Amuamua. That's what I was just
That
thinking
thing.
of. Yeah.
It. I absolutely had the word of that going, but I can't write it because I don't know how to spell it, so didn't write it down. That's what I was thinking. Of course, there is that famous scientist that believes that is a, is a probe and it's an alien kind of ship. So I don't know. Yeah, it didn't feel like a spacecraft, but it kind of looked like that when that Dennis said.
yeah.
Amuamua.
I'm
Yeah,
with you, Dad.
so I,
Didn't
I can't
okay.
I can't be clear on it to be honest because I kind of for some reason didn't focus upon it. I kind of knew that it was the person that I should have been
Mm.
focusing on, and I didn't really focus on the alien part or whatever it was enough, I guess.
Mhm.
On page one, I got E.T. clearly has a stray cat under my preview of oncoming attractors. But of course, E.T. extraterrestrial can mean anything from spirituality. It just means something without a physical body. So it could mean outer space. It could mean anything. But I just thought I'd mention that. And it's very interesting. You guys picked up on Bigfoots. I've got something to say about that, but if I share you'll ruin the next target. So I guess I'll have to get another one. I don't know what happened there, but you guys obviously connected up with me somehow.
Okay, interesting.
Hmm.
I see Naeem has his hand up.
Yeah, with the kind of the Bigfoot type stuff. Like a lot of the theme in my session had things to do kind of like proto-human, pre-human or that kind of time frame being involved somehow with the target evolution lineage or production and refinement of life forms. So yeah, it's kind of, I mean, this was a really early civilization. My guess is, I mean, going off my data, if it's any good here, I'm thinking maybe they'll find more things underground, that might bring more questions, like maybe structures or because I mean the gold seems kind of out of place to me, like, you know. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they find anything, if they continue doing excavations there and stuff like that.
Well, one of the things that could be related in terms of where the rest of the civilization is hanging out. Where do they make the gold? Where are more of their structures, if there were any? Is it's right next to the Black Sea, and it's right next to a large lake as well. And during the time when this civilization was around, the areas where maybe the majority of their civilization, where they lived on a day-to-day basis is now underwater, possibly. So, and that's kind of hard to do archaeological work on, but I know they are seeing evidence of civilization on the surface of the Black Sea with imagery and that kind of thing. So maybe we'll find some more information down there as well.
Darby, this was 9,000 BC. Is that the timeline we're looking at?
It was the 4600 BCE, so 4600 BC.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm thinking back to we did Gobekli Tepe with future forecasting. And I think Naeem had either giants or some kind of Bigfoot. Didn't you have something like that for that one too?
Yeah, giants and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, with the genetic engineering and stuff. So I was just trying to see where this fits in that timeline on the data we had on that. So this is a couple thousand years after Gobekli Tepe then. Okay.
And plus, this man was really tall for that period of time,
Yeah,
which is odd.
it's tall,
And
cranium.
what about the golden penis thing? Like that seems like it could tie into genetics, or why would they do that? I mean,
Yeah,
it
it could
seems.
be.
There's some type of a mythological connection that a golden penis sheath. Uh, I
It's
can't.
Egyptian.
Yeah,
Ties into Isis and Osiris, I believe. There's a whole story about it.
Yes,
Coral might know about it,
yes,
yeah.
yes. He was chopped up into pieces, and the penis was lost, so they had to make a false one.
and of course this
Yeah.
predates the Egyptian the height of the Egyptian civilization. So yeah, it's interesting.
And it was
There's
very pure.
also there's an African tribe. I remember watching this as a kid, and I don't know if there's, a correlation to this or not, but they were preparing for battle, and that's all they wore was like a sheath on their penis. Um, but you wonder how some of these things evolve and where they come from. Maybe there's a tie into that. I'll see if I can find. I mean, that's an old. I saw that when I was a kid, but
Yes, I'm very interested because apparently Michael Tullinger says there's very, very old gold mines here in Africa, predating even that. But of course, there's no treasure documented. But the gold is very pure. It's like 24.5 carats. How did they do that? It's, as one wonder if the gold maybe had a specific purpose and what that was. Because as I say, it's unusual, because salt was stuff like that was way more
Yeah.
important to be buried with such a lot of gold. For what reason?
Yeah.
I know some ancient tribes used gold to ward off bad spirits. I know it's also used to trap carbon to clear air.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different functions gold can have.
Yeah. Well, we use a lot of gold in in all our electronics, our phones, and everything because it's a very good conductor of electricity and frequencies,
And
which
regarding
is the kind of stuff
sperm,
we were picking up on. So yeah, very interesting on that part.
yes, those penis coverage or whatever, regarding sperm, it's actually having a contrary effect. It blocks sperm. So I don't know how that idea came into being.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like to dominate, I don't know, certain populations. I don't know.
And also, Daz was talking about the explosion being metallic. I was smelling metallic smells when I specifically went to the explosion and it smelt chemical and metallic. So that might
There's a
have
lot of
something to
mixed.
do with it too. Mm.
They say the Anunnaki wanted gold to put in their atmosphere. Maybe that's ties into that story.
But isn't it also a method of transporting plasma? Because there were some stories about the Great Pyramid that they were using bodies like clones and then transporting their plasma back to wherever so they could move between places.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and golds.
the capstones they don't exist now, but the capstones on the top of the pyramids were all made of gold as well. So that they all we think that the pyramids were some kind of energy machine, So we're getting the same kind of energy frequency stuff that we use gold for today in our phones and devices, and we were all picking up this kind of enlightenment energy stuff on a person that had gold rings and gold adornments all over their body. So and that's the reason why we still wear gold rings and stuff to this day. So yeah, it all makes sense that there's something there with frequencies and energy.
Is some relation between sound and gold.
Mm.
They had a lot of sound rituals.
Yeah, wasn't it Susan that had a lot of sound data as well with the goat? That was interesting.
And those stone pillars,
Yeah.
yes, I also got those, yeah.
Yeah, that was really dominant in the first session because it was all about this metalworking and sound
Yeah.
being used rituals as in ritual aspects and yeah, no, that was really strong.
Very, very interesting, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, if no one has any further comments about the data, we'll leave it here. Great job, everybody. I'm sure if we would have, we could have probably, spent a year just continuing to widen the aperture on how all of the data that you got connects and intersects with the target. Of course, the nature of what we do here is we just do a quick look and present some interesting findings, and uh, certainly look forward to keeping an eye on future discoveries in that area and see maybe we'll get some feedback in the future that further correlates the data that you all got. So nice job. We'll get a bunch of interesting, all your sessions, and we'll all get some interesting summaries of your data that I did. I did some extensive analysis, as I said, with ChatGPT. We'll get some interesting PDFs on the Hellfire Remote Viewing Club website. And until then, you guys have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks,
very
everybody.
much, Darby. That
Have a
was
great
really
holiday,
amazing.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy holiday to you too.
Happy holiday.
Okay. Thank
Take
you.
care, everyone. Have a good
Bye,
Christmas.
guys. See you later.
Bye.